Okay. Start broadcast. All right, guys, we're starting now.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, hi everyone. Hopefully you can all hear us. Welcome to our All in Swim webinar that will be hosted by JCC Chicago's Cassandra Dolan, Jen Phillips, Jen Zislis, and Kirsten Connor. Aaron, would you like to?
And we're going to let them introduce themselves as well, but we're excited. Thank you very much to Chicago, both Keshet and JCC Chicago, who we've worked with before, and we're excited to do so again. And we're going to turn it over to Jen Zislis, and you'll be able to ask questions as we go as well. Jen, it's all yours.
You can
go ahead.
It's the Jen show. Hi and welcome. I am Jennifer Zislis. I am one of the camp directors in Chicago, and I am joined by Kirsten and Cassandra, who both work in our aquatics program here in JCC Chicago, as well as Jen Phillips, who is the director of Rec and Summer Programming for Keshet. Keshet is a nonprofit agency that provides programming for children and adults with special needs. And she is also the Camp Shy Inclusion Coordinator, which is our overnight camp. We are very fortunate because Jen Phillips does spend a tremendous amount of time with us here in Chicago, really consulting us and playing a key role in our programming, in working with children with special needs and on inclusion. Today's webinar, we're really going to be focusing on a roadmap for all of us on what inclusion looks like, as well as what our All in Swim program is, which has been launched in JCC Chicago very successfully, and we hope to make it bigger and broader over the next few years. As we spoke, and I know that the question was really posed, how to work with children in an inclusive manner in the pool. And as I sat as a camp director, I kind of reached out to all of my fellow colleagues to talk about what does it really mean. I don't want to hoot our horn, but I do think we do a really great job at it. And what I recognized as my personal aha moment was a child with special needs in some way is no different than working with any other typical child, and that the same goals and the same structure that we provide for a typical child, we need to put in place for a child with some sort of disability or special needs. And so today's presentation is not necessarily a solution. I wish that there was a magical something that I could provide to everyone to allow you to do it successfully and well, but some of the guidance and tools and a thought process, how to think differently when you're hiring your staff, when you're working with your staff, when you talk with your families about goal setting, how to really approach the subject differently than you've looked at it before. And that's really what we hope that you gain. We are all accessible. Some of us will be at the JCCA conference. Others of us are always accessible by phone and email. So at the end of this, any questions you have, anything that we can do to be support and help, we are here. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Jen Phillips, who's going to talk a little bit about inclusion. Our goal really is to provide you clear tools to provide an inclusive swimming environment for all campers this summer.
So I think it's really important to talk a little bit about how we feel in our partnership here with the JCC and Keshet. We have for many years worked together in really providing an inclusive community and camp community for our campers. We truly feel that in order to meet the needs of all of our campers with disabilities or not, we work closely hand in hand in providing programming for our campers that are good for all of them. And so we noticed along the way that we were doing inclusion great within our camps and our day camps and our overnight camps and being included in the groups, but the swimming portion was not necessarily the best. And so we started with training our staff and then kind of took it another step and are going to really be training all of our staff this summer, not just our support counselors in the inclusive community. So, you know, looking at inclusion, we thought it would be important to talk a little bit about what our philosophy is and what we really feel inclusion is. And so this picture really shows you a visual of, in a lot of camps and in a lot of places, they view inclusion really in that integration circle where there's an inclusive community and the campers have their own programs within the larger program. We really view inclusion, as you can see the visual here, is everyone doing everything together, activities all together, they get the same opportunities as every other camper does. And so following along with all their daily activities that they did, we felt that we really needed to make sure that the swimming aspect and programming was really an inclusive program. And so we noticed that our campers were not getting the same instruction as the other campers in the group. They weren't getting the same goal-setting objectives at the start of their lessons, and parents weren't being informed on their progress. And so that, to us, was not inclusion. And so that's kind of where we moved our thinking and really started to look at our swim program and the All-In Swim program. Looking at what the experience of, campers should have that are in an inclusive camp community. Children with disabilities in camp participate in the full extent alongside their peers, so that's swimming and not swimming. Campers with and without disabilities, live together at camp. They're not separated. They're not in different cabins. They're not in different cabin groups. Our camp programs are structured to allow all campers to participate together to receive all services, so that being swimming, if they are in a specialty such as skiing or boating or any type of art specialty, that they're getting the same type of individual program as well as larger programs together. And we look at all campers and their individual needs, so not just our campers with support. We're obviously getting more and more campers within our day camps and overnight camps that are not coming with support, but really need individual goal-setting objectives for swimming as well as other activities. So doing that and giving them the behavioral support that they need, obviously, to accommodate in their groups. And that's really with the guidance of the inclusion coordinator, our site directors, our Keshet site directors, being able to make sure that all the kids are getting the same type of support and modifications for behavior or for programs, and really collectively have that camper care team. So working with the day camp directors, the overnight camp directors, together to, weekly go over campers who are getting support, but campers who are not getting one-on-one support, so that we can help them be bigger and more a part of the bigger camp community, inclusive community. So, we have a question always, why do we do inclusion at camp? And there's obviously many reasons we feel this is what should be happening. I think we're all vested into the same thing, that our community is a whole when it's everyone that can participate, their siblings, their neighbors, their friends and their cousins, so that everyone can fully participate in the Jewish community. But I think showing this video will give you a little glimpse of what we really feel full inclusion is. They might be hearing it.
Jen, if you guys can, why don't you mute yourself? I think the video will work separately. If you guys can mute your own microphones.
Thank you.
I think over the years what I've learned is it will be straight opposite. You to feel the energy when you're just walking through camp. And when you can't see who our campers are, that it is everyone together with Ruach, with love, and like diamond paws, and swimming, and rock climbing, and arts and crafts. Whatever it may be, they're there. That, to me, is inclusion. Our campers want the same things. They really want to be able to have fun. They want to have friends. You shouldn't know who our campers are. And 99% of the time, you really don't.
Camp made an enormous difference in my life. This space is so magical. It's like my home away from home.
I will be a staff member at Camp Shine. I will be a staff member at Camp Shine.
This is what it is. This is Keshet. We are what is natural and organic and truly what inclusion is on so many levels. The magic is something.
On it all, South Alberta.
Right, we should have computer audio for the video.
I think
We should have computer audio for all the, yeah, I hear it. It's probably just not loud.
Did you hear? Hold on.
All right, can you hear us now? All right, so that was just kind of a little glimpse of what our inclusive camp community looks like at our day camps and our overnight camps. But just some important things to go over. You know, families and caregivers with children with disabilities, they want their kids to be included, they want to enjoy friendships, they want to attend camp with their siblings, and they want them to be successful without them by their side. You know, looking at campers with disabilities, you know, they've said that obviously they've gained independence, they've been able to try new activities, they've gained lifelong friends, they want to have fun, they challenge themselves and express themselves and build self-esteem. So, you know, that's at camp in any activity, and especially in the pool where that is such a big, big part of camp. Especially at our day camps, they swim twice a day. So it's a real big part of the day. And then, you know, it's also for our typical peers and our peers who may not be getting that one-on-one support that, you know, they also, you know, have gained those lifelong friends and they've increased patience and acquired tolerance and really gained compassion. You know, it's accepting others for who they are and appreciating their differences. Becoming better people, and they've grown personally and built confidence. So, you know, these are a group of campers that maybe are coming to camp with their own set of needs. And so being able to really be in a group with other campers with, you know, different needs than them, it helps everyone all around the inclusive piece. So just wanted to give a little background on how we view inclusion. And kind of how it leads into things. And I think John's going to take over a little bit from here, talking about all of our campers and their needs in the swimming.
So in the pool, I believe that everything that we do in the pool looks the same as if they were on the sports field or any other areas of camp. I think we get very caught up because we think of what needs to happen in the pool. And so most importantly is to begin the conversations with the parents as to what the goals of the child or children are that we're working with, typical as well as campers with disabilities. Building that relationship and role modeling with the families from the beginning. Is it you? Is it your unit head? Is it the site coordinator? Whoever it is, it's going to have those conversations with the parents. And then to figure out after you have set those goals, what those clear expectations become. What is going to be asked of that child? Is it, especially in the pool, that they come dressed for swimming, that they're able to change in the locker room? Those are huge goals, and sometimes that goal might be the only goal. We are so fixated on teaching kids to swim, and ultimately that is all of our goal. We want children to learn how to swim, especially in a safe environment, knowing that it becomes a safety skill and a lifelong skill. But sometimes we need to really back up, and it's something that we're going to really focus on, is setting realistic goals and expectations for these children, typical as well as campers with disabilities, and then making whatever those adaptations are for their needs. Every child has some kind of individual need, and it might not be at the pool. What we're focusing on is what those children's needs are at the pool, and then how we're going to respond to those families, what we're going to do in terms of, is it going to be a phone call, is it going to be parent report cards to let you know how the child has progressed in the pool, but really what we are doing, and then the dialogue back and forth between the parent, caregiver, and the staff is this going okay? Is this what we're looking for? Should we be going in a different direction or not? And then lastly, what does a connected but sensitive to needs inclusion counselor look like? Really, we're talking about how we train our staff, the hard conversations during orientation about meeting their needs. You know, we don't want to give up on a camper before giving them the time and investing in what their needs are, to kind of not dismiss the little things that might make them have a successful day. What is the reason why they do a specific behavior? What is that trigger? Does that child have a boundary issue? Is it a space issue, especially in the pool where you might have to hold a child? Is that something that's really challenging for a camper, is just to be held? They might become more defiant the closer that you get knowing that you have to. So how do we keep them safe? How do we put them in a shallow area? How do we make sure that, you know, there's enough staff watching them without necessarily even having that physical contact if it's something that might bother them? How do we allow the inclusion to take place with campers who we know are going to be a positive role model? You know, to find those Pied Piper campers that we know can kind of assist the child that is a little bit needier at that time in a positive way. And a counselor who stays with the same kids. We really want that counselor to be working with everyone. And so in the pool, there might be that one-on-one counselor assigned to that child, but in addition, the lifeguard is there to work with all the different kids and to work with the whole group at one time, and to be proactive as to what their needs are.
Okay, so Cassandra and I are going to talk a little bit about swimming specifically in camp and what that looks like and how to help every camper have a successful swim time during the summer. So some things that we found to be very important, first and foremost, is that we want to be setting swimming goals for our campers. So what this means is that all of our campers receive an evaluation form at the beginning of the summer after we've assessed their initial skills. So this varies day camp to day camp a little bit, but we take some time to get to know everybody in the pool, and then we give them an evaluation and say, you know, where we would recommend that they swim this summer, what level or what group name. All campers get the same guidelines here, so campers with support follow the same guidelines as well. Every swim instructor will assess each camper's swimming abilities and place them in an appropriate level. So we take a little while to get to know every child's developmental needs and every child's swimming needs. And we come together and make a recommendation for what group we think that camper will be most successful swimming with during the summer. The camper support staff are responsible for working with swim instructors to choose 5 goals that are most attainable for their camper to achieve by the end of the summer. So that's something that I can't stress enough needs to be collective, what a swim instructor can base off of a few days in the pool and some swimming goals that we need. So maybe we need some other goals as well, like putting on our swimsuits beforehand. That might be a goal that comes into their summer assessment also. So prior to start of camp, our swim instructors and our camp counselors receive in-water training from aquatics managers. So the week before camp, while camp staff is going through training, we make sure to spend some time in the pool talking about helpful tips. That could be things from how to successfully support a child during a back float in the pool, where you should place your hands in the water to help this child become comfortable with swimming. So we spend some time doing that. Also, one-on-one aides receive a presentation about what a day in the pool should look like during camp. So for our one-on-one support staff, we know that they have a lot to consider during their day when they're supporting their camper, from transitions to lunch to sports activities and arts activities. So we make a point to have our conversation with them on how we feel the camp day should go in the pool and what are the things that we're hoping that every camper gets out of their swimming time at the pool. From there, our camp directors and our unit leaders also reach out to our disabilities campers' families to discuss goals for the summer, which includes aqua-specific goals. This is an opportunity for us to know, does this camper really like the water? Do they have a fear of the water? It gives us a background to build off of so that we know, how we can best help this camper have a good experience in the pool this summer. Our aquatics leads and our camp director discuss goals of disabilities campers prior to the first day of camp. So whatever information our camp director, our unit leader has learned from this family is shared with our aquatics lead so that we know things in advance if we're dealing with fears. We're dealing with elopement. Maybe we have campers who really love to be in the pool and they want to go to the deep end even though they're not ready yet. So our aquatic staff feels prepared to help all of our campers acclimate as best they can prior to even day camp starting. And then goals are communicated to the camper's swim instructor. So from there, when a camper is assigned a swim instructor, we're able to tell that swim instructor, here's the things that we really want to focus on this summer. Here's a little background of information that you might need so that you're successful when you're doing your lesson plan. So swim lessons. As I mentioned previously, all of our campers are evaluated and assigned swim groups within the first week of camp. So at the very latest, that Friday of the first week of camp, our camp parents receive a letter home that says, Joey is going to be in level 2 this summer, and here's some things that Joey's going to learn in the pool while we go swimming. This letter briefly details some of their skills that the camper is going to learn. Every camper gets this letter. Our typically developed campers as well as our special needs campers. Letters might vary a little bit depending on what our goals are, but we try to give all of our parents a brief view of what they can expect out of swimming during the summer. And then our swim groups. So by this time, we've established swim groups in the pool. All campers are assigned a swim group that consists of campers with similar swimming abilities. Campers with support learn the same skills as their peers within the group. And these campers stay with the same swim instructor for the whole summer. I can't stress the importance of that enough. We all know that when kids are swimming, 2 times a week, 5 days a week, they progress really quickly in the pool, and that's great. We get so excited to see that. But it's really important that they are able to progress with the same swim instructor the duration of their camp time. That just because they progress to a higher level doesn't mean that they now have to go to a different swim instructor. So we really work closely with the swim instructor to make sure that they can meet the needs of everybody in their camp swimming group. And our one-on-one aides follow the lead of the swim instructor, so they slow down if needed. But the most important part here is that they're not providing their camper with free time while swimming lessons are occurring. That the one-on-one and the swim instructor are working closely together to make sure that they are helping all of their campers accomplish their swimming goals for the summer.
And what happens when you visit 20 out of 25?
As far as assessing goals, one-on-one counselors and swim instructors need to work together to track campers' progress throughout the summer. So aquatic staff will provide laminated skills tracking sheets for all swimmers in their group. So if you're a swim instructor and you have level 2, you have a list of all of your campers' names that are swimming at 10:30 and all of the skills that you're hoping to accomplish with level 2. And then you get to track throughout the summer how each of these campers are doing on their goals so that we can communicate this back home to parents. Campers with support might have some individual goals beyond their swim schools that are also logged throughout the summer. So this is where the one-on-one and the swim instructor working together to track that progress really comes in handy. Maybe one of our campers with support goals is, getting changed and being ready for the pool. So that's where we want communication between support staff and the swim instructor so that we know how those things are going. It's really important that they work closely together to fill out these goal sheets so that we're providing accurate feedback back home about how our swimming experience is going.
So here's an example of one of the skill goal sheets that we use throughout the school year in our All-in-Swim program. This is what we share with the parents on a laminated copy at the end of each class and then go home with the results. So we record it on the computer. So in this example, the child was working on an assisted back float. Week 1, he wasn't really accomplishing what we wanted from the assisted back float. And so we attempt each skill 5 times. not 55 on week 2, sorry, but we accomplish each skill 5 times, and if they've met the 5 out of 5, we reassess the skill for next month and may introduce independent launch with face in the water to build on what they've already accomplished. So now we're going to talk about communication between the swim instructor and support counselor. Campers with support learn the same skills side by side with their peers with the assistance from the one-on-one. It's essential that the campers with support progress with the same swim instructor for the duration of the summer. One-on-one aides must communicate daily on the swim progress of the camper with support, and that might just mean also saying, coming to the group and saying, we've had a little rough day today. Maybe we should focus on only 2 of our goals instead of 5. It would be nice to build that relationship between the one-on-one aide and the swim instructor. That's why I want to keep them the same all summer. It's important that they are engaging in the skills that both of them, the swim instructor and the one-on-one aide, with the disability campers. We don't want to see your swim instructor ignoring the camper with support because they have a one-on-one aide. Next, we're going to talk about ways we can do this. So this is perfect to share with your swim instructors and your one-on-one support staff. So we're going over different types of teaching methods. Typically, a swim instructor relies on demonstrating a skill, and then the child will mirror that skill back. This doesn't work all the time, so we need to find different ways of providing teaching for these different skills. So our example here is a task analysis. If I were to teach assisted kicking, you would think I can just grab a mat and say, kick your feet, here, let's go. It doesn't always work like that. So we want to, in this method of teaching, create a task analysis for the goal by breaking up the skills into smaller actions. Tasks in the sequence are prompted and reinforced by individual behaviors. Tasks should be broken down to the smallest possible steps. So we want to work on standing up first. Then we're going to work on moving from one top dock to the next. And that might just be walking for a few weeks. It might not even be introducing the mats yet. Next, we're going to introduce the kick mat. Then we're going to lay on the kick mat. Again, we might not be kicking yet, and we could be on week 6 and only be at lay on the kick mat. But we're still meeting those goals. Kicking the feet on the side of the pool we will introduce. Lay on the mat and then moving from top dock to top dock. Lay on the mat and kicking feet 5 times, or lay on the mat and kicking for 5 seconds. Lay on the mat and kicking from dock to dock, and then we meet assisted kicking. So if we notice that we presented assisted kicking as the goal at the beginning, and we're still on laying on the kick mat by week 3, we need to reassess our goals and change our goal to lay on the kick mat rather than making it an unattainable goal as assisted kicking. Next, we have combining skills. At this point, your child knows how to do 2 skills, such as back float and jump. So let's say they've mastered back floating and they've mastered jumping into the water. At this point, your goals are not going to be jump in or back float. It's going to be jump in and back float. So this method is similar to the task analysis, except the student does not receive praise when completing the master skills, which means we don't move backwards. You know they can do the back float, so we're not going to focus only on the back float. We're going to practice the back float, but it won't be written down as a goal. The goal will be jump in and back float. When working towards your new goals, you should only provide positive praise during the combined skill for the new goal. For example, jump in and back float. The student should not be reinforced for the skills jump in or back float. And then our next teaching method is prompting. Prompting is a hands-on approach to teaching that is most effective with students who do not respond well to visual aids. Prompting is an errorless teaching method to release frustration from the students. You want to fade prompts as soon as you can without losing the response that you're teaching. There are 3 ways to fade a prompt: gradually, with momentum, and on a time delay. The pace on fading prompts will depend on the speed your student has in learning the skill. Follow these guidelines when using prompts. Be consistent. Therefore, if you're saying stand up and launch, Don't turn it into stand up and do an airplane. Use the same language each time. Prompt as often as necessary. Start with errorless teaching when applying a new skill or if the student just made an error. Be sure that your prompts are very intentional, that you're doing them on purpose. Stand up. Stand up. Let's stand up. Always prompt from a prereq skill so that they're familiar with the skills. So we're assuming they know how to stand on a top duck. So we want to start there so you don't have frustration at the beginning. And then always fade a prompt. So once we have the stand up part, we'll add, okay, arms up, stand up, arms up.
No, we look to, we look to our leaders to set an example.
Use a variety of prompts. So you gesture to communicate the skill. If you want the child to go to the tatak, verbally ask the child to go to the tatak while gesturing your hands towards the tatak. Model the skill to the child and have him or her follow your demonstration. Use vocal cues. Say to the student, go to tatak. Or you can physically bring the student to the tatak as you verbalize the skill. You grab and guide the student in the water. By phasing this one out, you will walk them halfway. You can start then pointing to the tatak and just making the prompt fade throughout the lesson. If you want the student to go to the tatak, you must stand by the tatak and prompt him or her to come by you. That's environmental. Or you can provide a visual aid by using a map or picture card to show the student the steps to achieve the prompt. When asking the student to go to the tatak, show a picture of the tatak and have him or her walk with the picture. And then we have a teaching method of guided practice. Teaching students through guided practice is essential to help students with coordination between the arms, legs, hands, and other parts of the body. When you are teaching a new skill, always provide an explanation and demonstration, and then allow the student to have guided practice time. During guided practice, students are learning and perfecting skills. Guided student practice should include directions and instructions. Give an explanation and demonstration. Ample practice time. Don't just try it out once. Have the student practice with you and with the swim instructor, so with the one-on-one aid and the swim instructor. If that way isn't working, always make sure to use the different types of methods that were explained earlier. Provide corrective feedback. Identify the errors. Say, that's not standing up. Let's try again. This time, stand up straight. Keep your language short. Reinforcement from the instructor. Allow the student time to practice after you have made corrections. You may have to use a hands-on approach to help the student achieve the desired outcome. And then again, going back to fading the hands-on approach. Provide encouragement and positive feedback. Make sure that you're changing your feedback to not only good job, make sure you add excellent. I like the way you did that. That was awesome. These are two types of providing feedback, is positive and corrective. Positive feedback is acknowledgement of a correct action.
Yeah, and I think this is important. I mean, I think we need to look at the way we're teaching our kids might be different than we're teaching the other campers in the group. And so these are really important things to work on with our support staff also besides our swim instructors. Because they're going to be the ones kind of hands-on. And so, you know, they're young counselors. They may not be necessarily even used to teaching. And so I think this is a lot of what we go through with our support counselors before they're getting in the pool with our kids.
A lot of first this, then that language also helps. First stand up, then launch to wall, breaking down the steps and simplifying. So we're bringing it back into our goal setting. So setting goals will help you create lesson plans, structure your lessons, encourage your student, and create a transparent plan for your student and their family. Attaining a goal gives your student pride in the accomplishment and improves self-confidence. One of the things that always happens is level 2 lists all of these skills that may not be attainable, and these kids are coming into your camp for the 5th year in level 2, compared to coming home with a 5-goal sheet where they master these goals at the end of summer. Brings so much more self-confidence and accomplishment in the pool setting than providing goals that they would not meet year after year after year. So goals will assess you in structuring each lesson for the month. The number of goals you set will depend on your students. Creating smaller goals to reach a large goal will make it easier. So remember, you can change these goals at any time. If the student's doing great, add another step. If it's not working, go back to the task analysis and see how you can break down these goals. Small goals serve as a stepping stone to reach your monthly goals, and to determine a goal, you must decide on the larger goal you want at the end of the summer, and then work backwards to create the achievement plan. List all the steps that the student will need to master to achieve the larger goal, and use this list as a guide for smaller goals that will set your student up for success in the summer. And then you're,
all right. So when creating goals, there's a few things that you want to keep in mind. First, we want to make sure that the goals that we're creating are attainable, right? So you want your students to stay focused and successful. If you create unattainable goals, the student will become discouraged, and nobody wants to participate in a lesson if they feel like the goal is something that they can't reach. So we want to make sure that we're making attainable goals. We want to make sure that we're reevaluating our attainable goals if we need to, depending on how our progress this summer is going.
We want there to be success. I mean, I think that's the key, is that we want there to be some type of success, no matter what that is for the individual camper, that, you know, you're not just in the pool all summer and you get past that level.
Sure that our goals are clear, that we're able to create goals that a student understands, and that our goals should be specific and student-centered. Measurable goals, okay, so we want to be able to measure our goals in order to see success. We want to be able to quantify by numbers if we can. So an example is that we want to perform 5 bobs. It's easier to measure a goal when you create a timeline for achievement. I will also say measurable goals are really helpful if you are looking to start a program similar to All in Swim and you're looking for some grant funding to get you going. That's the way that we've been really successful, and we're happy to share more information on that. But all of your grant funders want to see the measurable outcome of what they've helped you to support. So having those skill charts that we have so that we can very specifically say, this is who progressed in our lesson, and this is how they progressed, and this is where they started, and this is where they finished, are really, really important tools. And again, of course, that's also great for our campers and for our parents to really be able to see, okay, you know, Joey did 2 bobs at the beginning of the summer and did 8 bobs by the end of the summer. So we know that they're more comfortable in the water, and we feel that swimming has been successful. And another thing that's really important is flexible. It's important to keep in mind that your goals can change at any time. So this is a little different than our typical swim lessons, right? In a typical swim lesson, we want to accomplish X, Y, and Z, and no matter what, our goals always stay the same as far as X, Y, and Z to pass out of this level. You need to keep flexibility in mind here. Be sure to always have a backup plan for your goals in case your student is having an off day, because that happens. And a backup plan should include 5 sort of less challenging goals and 5 more challenging goals. You want to be able to adapt your lesson on a day-by-day basis. If your camper comes and they're struggling with swimming that day, you might not get to the goals that you originally had planned. So you need to be able to be flexible and be on the fly and have something that maybe we want to revisit, or maybe your camper is having a super successful day and flew through their 5 goals, and now we want to still make sure that they're getting a lot out of their swim lesson.
And then things to remember when creating the goals. Begin where the student is now. So take that first week. Listen to what the parent told you at the beginning. If they have a pool in their backyard and their biggest thing is that their child won't jump in without you, work on that goal. Begin where the parent is communicating they want to start now and where their swim skill is now. Understand that some children progress faster than others. Each child will move at their own speed. Use a variety of activities and techniques to help your student reach their goal. I've had many times where I had teachers just tell me, it's just not working, it's not working. And I ask them, well, did you try this way? Did you try this way? And it may take your swim director getting in the pool and working with those different techniques to find out the existing skills. that, you know, everyone wants to feel great when they walk into the pool or while they're sitting there. So reinforce what they can do. That was a great back float. Now let's add this to it. Understand that students can encounter roadblocks. Anyone can encounter a roadblock, especially in the swimming pool. Not only are we having the barrier of this might be their first time, it's loud, the lights are too bright, etc. Like, everything's going to happen where roadblocks are going to come, and it's going to be a learning process. Don't get discouraged if your student seems to have plateaued in a certain skill. Go back to your task enough. Go back to the goals that you had and reassess. Continue to pursue new methods of teaching the skills and utilize other instructors and resources to create your goals. If you're stuck, make sure that they're reaching out. Any time. If you're using a game to reach a goal, make sure you're playing the game with purpose. Especially in the pool, we love red light, green light, sharks and minnows, maybe not my favorite, but different games that make sure they have a purpose. You know, I do high fives for scoops because they're getting their arms out of the pool. Make sure that your student understands, though, that it's not high five, you're doing great. It's high five, let's do some scoops. But it's still fun. And then plan all your activities around your goals.
As we follow up with the goal setting, one area is really how to support your staff, to support the aquatic staff that are working in the water during your orientation and throughout the summer, to also support the staff working with your typical campers, how they can really help integrate and include all the campers in their swim group, and use your pool director, the camp director, whoever is the one that's going to be in contact with that parent, because the communication piece is really the key to the success. And what my goal is going to be very different than what a parent's goal is. And as a camp director sitting, you know, knowing that so many of the typical children are, you know, going to pass, and we try to at least get every child to pass through one level potentially, especially when they're at the younger, earlier development levels, it's a little bit easier. Working with a child with the disability might mean that their goals look very, very, very different, and that the staff need to take the attention to what really they are talking about as their goal, and not to look at the big picture, to look at the small picture, and to applaud them on every success that they have throughout the summer, because their accomplishments will look very different than a typical child's accomplishment. And how do we really identify those positive interactions that the kids have?
And I think that it starts with what you have. I think when you look at having kids in the group, it's okay. It's still inclusion if they're in the groups 50% of the time. They're still in an inclusive setting. We're just modifying their schedule for them. They join the group when they can. They join activities when they can. And it's kind of the same for swimming. It's not necessarily that they're doing everything everyone else is doing in the group. It's that individual and modification goal setting that is the same thing as being in a duck, duck, goose. So that's how you kind of have to look at it, and it's really having that support of the director, the day camp director, who's saying, this is what we're doing, as well as obviously
At this point, we're going to open up any questions that, Erin, if there's any questions that have come through. We left a few minutes at the end. We also put up our emails and phone numbers to be reached offline to support any way that we can help. We're here to help.
Absolutely. We have plenty of material to share. There's much more where this came from. JCC Chicago has recently created we have an all-in swim manual and a train the trainer manual that we're happy to share. If this is something that you're looking to get started, then we can help. All in Swim, we've adapted the program for summer camp, but we also have a year-round program that helps you adapt. If you have an existing swim program at your J that's doing well, but you are struggling to find ways to make your swim lessons more adaptable in the water for children with disabilities. We feel that the model that we have come up with can really help you train staff on how to make those adaptations and how to do these things that we talked about today. How do you go about setting goals for a swimmer with disabilities? How do you start a goal chart? What are some teaching methods that you want to have in your back pocket for a kid who's having an off day? And that is all information that we're happy to share.
And I think that's been the really big positive is that our campers can then continue throughout the year, so they're not losing those skills. We know for kids with disabilities, it's tough. They regress and they really need to maintain those skills. And so it's nice. Cassandra and I will talk a lot over the summer on a camper that has been having lessons all year and where we're going to start, and she's able to talk to all the aquatic directors over the summer. So I think that's also a full circle of programming that really does help. So if you're doing it during the year, you're doing it in the summer, and it does flow better.
It's a great opportunity to bring a new program to your Jay. We've become very familiar with how to go about seeking some grant support for ourselves, and happy to help if it's something that you're looking for. This is our second year in All in Swim, and our budget is self-sustaining this year, so we are doing it without the grant support this year pretty successfully. We're happy to share all of those tips with you guys as well.
Are there any questions, Erin, that have come through, or does anyone on the webinar have any questions they'd like to ask us?
Do you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we haven't gotten any recent questions, but we're going to unmute everybody and see how that works.
Okay.
Yeah, it scares me too. We get to click on each one. Okay, we are unmuting everybody in the system. Okay, if anyone has questions, you should be unmuted at this point. If you're not, let me know.
You can write any questions or just speak up. In 1 second.
Some people are leaving themselves on mute, which is fine. If anyone has any questions and you're unmuted already, feel free to ask.
You don't be unmuted.
Okay, I don't hear any questions, so with that, we are going to, hold on.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to mute you guys because people are writing in questions, which is fine. We have Sarah Rubenstein asked, is there any adaptive equipment that you recommend, any must-have?
Did you guys hear that question, Jen?
Oh my God, I muted.
Yeah, forget that.
Okay, there you go. Am I unmuted? All right. Yeah.
Hi.
Jen, did you hear that question?
Yes, we heard it. So definitely stay away from all the flotation devices, please. Toys that have lights and different textures are definitely useful, especially when we meet with the parents and they tell us their favorite thing is a boat or a ball. Like we have extra balls around, and we use those as rewards once they meet their goals. But please, no wings, no life jackets, none of that, because we don't use that in our swim lessons. The top decks are pretty useful. They're just like kind of stands in the pool. And just to feel safer so you're not holding on to a kid the entire time, or they're not sitting on the side, especially if they're elopers. But other than that, please stay away from the flotation devices. A lot of parents say that they use them on vacations, and I try to discourage that.
JCC has built their cat backs out of PVC pipes and been able to successfully build them in terms of a cost-saving perspective. I think most of our pools have between 6 and 8 of them, and it is just at least, and it is just the PVC pipes that are built together to elevate the campers and the children in the water with some kind of platform that's usually, what is the?
If anybody's interested, we do have the specs and the equipment that we use to build our own top deck, so happy to share that. We have a list of toys that we find to be very sensory friendly and have, you know, lasted in the water. I think that becomes a really important thing, is something that is sensory friendly and waterproof. We use visual timers for some of our kids in lessons, and we've had a lot of success with that. So yeah, if you're looking for kind of specific supplies, if you shoot us an email, we're happy to send you our list of what we have.
But no flotation devices.
Any other questions?
If you guys want to take that list and send it over to us, we'll be happy to send it out as well.
Perfect.
By the way, can you guys see the questions, or just are we the only ones who can see them?
You're the only one that can see.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, so just to let you know, you've got a lot of people saying, thank you so much for your presentation.
Yay.
Great. Well done, all that good stuff, amazing program. I want to share that with you. Some people don't have microphones, so.
Also, everyone, we will be recording. We recorded this, so we will send this out afterwards.
Okay, so there'll be something available. This recording will be available probably by the end of today, beginning of tomorrow at the latest. Any other questions? If not, thank you so much, everybody from Chicago. Much appreciated. And people will let you know if they have questions as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great one. Take care. Bye-bye.